Hi guys, how's everyone doing? Are you still there? Yeah? Thank you for coming out. The video you just saw is a event we run in Cape Town. So we run an event called the Breathe Sunshine African Music Conference. Earlier this year we also ran the Unity Jam, which was an event we did in Langa Township. One of the things we're trying to do as Black Mango is to diversify and bring people together through music, because music often divides us in this country, but it has the power to unite. So we ran that event in Langa Township and had a totally mixed audience, which just proves that music can cross boundaries. Anyway, do I need to introduce you? Do I really need to introduce you?
Well, my name is Jabu. I'm a Virgo.
I knew you'd do a better job than me, so.
Well, I mean, yeah, double HP, those who know what's up, you know, and I'm a fellow musician, aspiring activist, Pan-Africanist, all that stuff, you know, and I like this kind of vibe, you know. It's not so much about us coming to impact, like, or impart our knowledge. It's really about just sharing and getting to know the industry in depth, you know, with everybody who's in the house.
Cool. Khan from the Parlotones, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
I'll share his sentiment, that as well.
Yeah, sorry, I have to do this, okay? Sorry, give me a sec. I don't think I've ever seen, like, guys of this stature on the couch, so can I take a selfie? Come on, let's take a selfie.
Snapback in my highlight.
Okay, come on, get in. Thank you. It's amazing to have both you guys on the couch, and one of the reasons we wanted you is because you guys are so successful in the industry, but come from such different places and backgrounds, and I want to understand the difference in how you got going. So maybe you could just start off by telling us like how you started out.
I started out in the music industry really by default. I was in film school at the time. I had just taken out a demo for a song called How You Feel, and it was just making the rounds around my friends, you know, and we tried to get it released by many record labels. At the time we were chasing, then Kalawa was called Bad News Records. We tried to like get it signed to them with no success. We tried to get it through Gaz with TKZ and then with no success. And I kind of gave up on even trying to release an album. I was just concentrating on my film studies and all that, until by default my tape fell on the lap of Vusi Leo.
Did you say tape?
A tape.
Like a cassette tape?
Cassette, like
you guys
TDK.
know what that is?
60 minutes, yeah, TDK,
wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
yeah,
way back,
yeah. Bro. So somehow my tape fell on Vusi Leo's lap. He came to our res, don't even ask why, but he was there. And yeah, he was listening to my song. Someone was like, yeah, the guy who's rapping on this thing actually lives down a few rooms down the block from my place. Then he called me out there. He's like, yo, man, do you know I can sign you? You know, I was like, I'm not really interested, you know. I just enjoyed the love I was getting, Jay, like from my friends and their friends as women and all that stuff, you know. So he was like, no, I really think, we've got something to offer. We've just opened up a new division with a EMI called CCP2. They had a record label called CCP at the time. And CCP2 was going to be a development record label where they take artists, you know, from grassroots level rather. They build them up, and then once they're established, they sign them onto the major label, you know. But I wasn't interested. It took this guy to call my dad to convince him, like, you know, we think there's a room for your son. We've just recently signed Mendoza. We've just signed TK, I think. We've signed Chopper. We've signed Gunchess. I think it was Gunman and Chester from Yizo, and we think there's room for you, you know. So I came on there, I signed under them, but then the politics started becoming like, you know, a constant thing. Like, first of all, you know, you're rapping in Setswana. Setswana is not a selling language. You know, you need to kind of up your game and do something in Zulu. We don't like your name, Jeba. You know, you need to think of something more African, Hasemo States, Mona, you know. And yeah, man, like, long story short, after all of those politics, I'm where I am today. You know.
Wow. And I think just what you said in the beginning, like you kept going to people and they kept turning you away.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important in the music industry, is perserverance. We have a saying in the music industry, it's 80% will and 20% skill. And you have to be incredibly driven to break through. Tell us about how you got started.
Yeah, I think what you just summed up there has pretty much been my career and our career. It started at school where I auditioned for many bands, more than 5 at least, as to be a singer, and I didn't crack the nod. I think mainly because at the time, grunge was sort of the prevailing scene, and I didn't have a gruff voice. So they're like, sorry man, you sound like a girl and you look like a boy, so you don't get the gig.
Do a musical.
Yeah, do a musical. I did actually.
Yeah.
So then I decided, well, I guess the only way to really be a part of a band is to start my own band, and the only way to get that process going is to learn an instrument. And so I picked up the guitar, and that for me was quite frustrating. I wasn't very technically competent, and I found it very boring, the sort of the technical aspects of it. So whatever I learned, I would start writing songs with the few chords that I knew. I mean, there were 100 songs with 3 chords. And then, you know, I found sort of other musicians that were, I guess, in a similar place. They were also just starting out and learning their craft. And we did what we loved. We got together as many times a week as possible, you know, in the cliched garage, and just practiced, wrote songs, did whatever gigs we could. It was never about money. It was just about playing and playing and playing, wherever, whether it was a friend's birthday party or opening for whoever. The amount of people in the audience didn't matter. Yeah, and I mean, that was when the band actually started, was in '98. So it just shows you how far back, or how long we've actually been doing this. I mean, it was maybe 5 or 6 years before any real traction took place. And you know, we still have the same ethos. Get together as often as we can to write and practice, and just gig, and record. I guess live, eat, and breathe music.
You said that you didn't crack the nod with the 5 bands, but you started your own band. And I think that's so important, to take control of what you want and not sit back and wait for someone to give it to you. And how important is that for artists in the day and age we are in now? Because obviously things have changed a lot over the last 10 years.
So important. I think we all believe that there's something else that's going to be the magic wand that's going to just catapult us into another realm. Whether we think it's a manager or a label or, I don't know, endorsement or something, you think that's going to be that little, you know, secret recipe to success. And it's not. The only route to success is doing it yourself. Yes, you need a team of like-minded people, but don't believe that signing some contract means, nah, you know, all your hard work worries kind of are going to dissolve into the background. And someone else is not as passionate about your project as you are. So, like, I would say, before signing anything or before committing to anything, do a lot of the work yourself. Understand how it all works yourself, so that you can sift out the bullshitters from the real guys.
I think that's so important, is people think like when they sign a record deal, they've made it. But that's actually when the work starts. Because all of a sudden you've got somebody else who's going to give you cuck if you don't get your shit together. So I think it's a really important point.
Cool, man. So we can say shit.
You have to speak into you can say shit.
Oh, that's cool.
I'd
man.
rather you didn't
that's
say
cool.
the F word too much.
That's cool. That's the
we don't
shit right
embarrass
there.
Anybody. But this is being streamed. This is being streamed live to the world. So you can say shit to the world. Oh. And this is the music industry. So let's not be too prudent, okay? Next point. When did you know, or when did you feel that you were starting to make it here?
When did I feel that I was starting
You have to speak in the mic, otherwise the people around the world
When
can't
did I
hear you.
feel that I'm starting to, sorry?
When did you feel that you turned around and went, wow, this is starting to happen for me. I'm starting to make it.
So I was signed to CCP2, right, with the first album, and the A&R, you know, was really like, you know, giving his own input. Like, I didn't know, at the time I thought A&R meant like an asshole, you know, sorry. Because like they'd come into a recording session and go, no, I don't like the snare, I want it to go ching. And you're like, what? No, make it go ching, 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 ching. And you're like, you're sitting there, you're like, but the song sounds finished though. He's like, no, I'm telling you, if you just make it ching, it'll work, you know. So I didn't really understand what was going on. So like a lot of work was put into my album, like, you know, sound like this, you know, try rap about this. I remember even once we did a show with Chopper in Durban. And Chopper was very prominent at the time, you know, he was singing in Portuguese, you know, he had dreads, he dyed them yellow, and he used to dance with like topless, you know, and he had this point in the set where he takes out like fire and starts like blowing fire on stage. And I remember Vusi, my old manager, looking at me like,
can you do that?
like, are you going to pull out some fire or something? Because this is killing it right now, you know? So these guys were just really like trying to spear me a certain direction the whole time, you know. Even the collaborations that I need to do with, I remember I always, like, me and Zombo were friends, you know, Tebogo, and we've always spoken about doing songs together. And I used to love him because he was really an awesome dancehall singer, you know, or a rapper type vibe, you know, but not everybody knew that. He was always just stuck in this Kwaito box that he was in, you know. So we always talked about, hey, one day it would be nice for us to just kind of break out and do our own thing, you know. But anyway, 2 albums down the line, you know, it didn't really work out as they initially planned. I was signed down under them as an artist, and they were like, yo, this guy's not working, you know, Setswana's not working, whatever this vibe of yours is, we don't like it, you know. And I also didn't like it because it wasn't myself. What I presented as myself before, they didn't like it, so they changed me into what they think the industry was at the time, you know. And they gave me a clearance, told me to go home, pack my bags and all that stuff, you know. I remember being back in my Mafikeng thinking like, hey, Josie, hey, Shmara Josie, you know, like, I can't believe it, you know. But now, what the weird thing is, on the Mufftown album, the one that they gave me a clearance for, just before we took the album in to get mastered, I remember begging my producer to just do 1 track. That's just for me. Like, I just want to do this track. This is for me. It's not about the industry. It's not about, you know, Zulu or whatever. It's about just me doing my thing. And the song was called Hudirakalang. Like, it took us like 30 minutes to do that song, and I wrote it from the heart. Something just happened to me back home. I wrote about it, and I took it out, you know. And the album kind of got bummed by the record label, and I was back home in Mafikeng. Until a few months later, you know, I get a call from somebody from the record label saying, yo, there's this song called Hudirakalang that's now playing on all the radio stations. Like, do you know anything about it? It's like, yeah, it's in that album you guys kicked me out from. Oh, for real? Start going back, you know, like, now we need to have a meeting with you again, you know. And I wasn't really sure what was going on because I had begged my parents to go back to Joburg. This time I'll go back to school for real. I promise I will finish school. Just take me back to Josie. So I went back there to Wits, and they kind of called me back again. Like, yo, man, we think that, you know, there's this song that's playing on radio more than Doc Shebeleza at the time, you know. And Doc Shebeleza also was, I later learned that he was a guy from Pukeng, you know. So he had some, like, I don't know, some sentiments towards me. Like, yo, man, I really think you're good, man. These guys just don't understand you. I'm going to speak to them for you. And they called in this meeting saying, yo, there's this song, Hudirakalang, that's playing more than Doc Shebeleza, and before you crack elsewhere in another record label, we want to sign you back here. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I was a bit confused at the time, like, it's too much jargon. I don't know what these guys are going on about. And I was with my business partner, Samuel, I think he's here as well. And I remember standing there with like Om and thinking to myself, what are these guys talking about? And they thought this like it's a poker move or something, like, oh, okay, you're playing hardball, aren't you? Okay, we'll give you 80,000 advance. And I'm like, 80,000 advance now? Like, and they're like, oh, this guy's good. Oh, this guy is good. This guy is good. You know what? We will give you your own record like deal. Like, you could do like a license deal. You own your own masters. We give you the 80,000. We'll throw in some women. We'll like, okay, not the women, but like, you know, they were just practically just throwing everything at me, you know. And Samuel was like, yeah, let's take the deal. Let's take the deal. We took the deal. I remember even like, you know, putting together. We were at the computer lab at school, like at Nate, like trying to put down the mission statement, the vision of the company, and we ended up like owning our own record label, you know. And months later, they kind of realized that, yo, man, maybe we made a mistake, you know, like now we gave this guy so much power and all that stuff, you know, where it wasn't conventional at the time, you know. And I remember that we just released the YBA album, if I'm not mistaken, the one with Java. It's the ones, yeah, we just released Java. And they found a loophole somehow in the contract to try trap me back to being an artist. You know, they were like, you know, we spent this much money on the album, whereas before we spent about 50,000 on the master. Now we spend 80. and you need to pay us back that money within a certain time. If you don't, then we're gonna revoke your contract and turn it back into an artist deal, and then you're with us now, you know. And I remember thinking to myself, like, you can never win with these record labels, you know, but whatever, you know. I was in Mufftown buying a kota, I remember, like, oh man, like, things are just getting worse, you know. And I walk out with this kota, and I had a Philips Savvy, I remember. As it rings, I'm like, what? I get a call from Jay Savage, my publisher, saying that, yo, man, this song, Jab, I just got an endorsement deal. And are you guys down to do it? But it's with an okay brand called Knorr, you know. It's a soup, and I don't know if you want to be associated with the soup. And I was like, ish, I don't know, like, how much is it? How much is it paying? He's like, 80 grand. I'm like, 80 what? The next day I got into the bus back in Jozi. I went back into the Leslie's office, and they're like, yeah, well, you owe us money. I'm like, well, here's your money, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, and pat it down. And ever since then, we're still what we are today, you know?
So it sounds like there wasn't the one eureka moment. It was a process.
It wasn't. It was really a process, and by default, my brother.
But it's so interesting that the way you broke was through a track that came from your heart.
Yes, that's the thing.
I think that's one of the problems we have in our industry is everyone's trying to be someone else or sound like someone else. I think it's important.
They're always just trying to follow formula, you know, and formula only works to a certain degree. But if artists just really truly do what they want and feel, there's somebody out there who will kind of like, you know, levitate towards that and understand it, you know. That's what's important.
Carl, when did you realize? You know, was it kind of some mosh pit going off where a bra got thrown in your face, or was there some eureka moment where you're like, wow, people dig our shit?
Have you heard our music? There's never a mosh pit.
No, that's true. A mosh pit of girls.
Well, I think it's all perception because, you know, when you start a band, you have obviously those big ideals like, you know, being the Beatles and whatever, but they're kind of pie in the sky. The real dreams that you have is just that first gig or playing at the Roxy. That was one of those. And when that happens, you're like, oh, we're actually making it. And then you kind of move on to the next thing where you go, yes, it would be cool to just play a festival. And then even if it's at 2 in the afternoon when no one's there, you still feel a sense of accomplishment, like you're moving forward and you, I guess, making it. And then you also get met with disappointments because you get a song on radio eventually after quite a struggle, and the song does really well. And I think with us, the first song that had success went to number 2 on 5FM Top 40. Then you think you've made it, and then you have a gig the following week, and there's still only 20 people in the audience. So you haven't actually. And so I think, you know, your entire career is filled with moments of, we've made it, and moments of disappointment. And I don't think you've ever really made it. You know, the world's a big place. You know, sure, you've made it in your hometown, but then you've got to move out of Roodepoort and kind of make it somewhere else. And, yeah, so you have we made it? No.
Let's talk about, firstly, I think to a degree you have made it. Come on, these guys have done damn well. Yeah? Just give yourself some credit. So you obviously get to a certain level in South Africa where you're playing to more than 20 people, and you're on the radio and you're making gig money and you're starting to be able to pay your rent. But there's always this vision, I think, in South Africa to go global, to take our sound to the world. There's certainly huge amounts of interest in the South African music industry. I mean, the fact that 3 booking agents from Coda are down here to see what's going on, there's a lot of interest. When was the first time you played overseas, and how did you make that happen for yourself?
The first time we played overseas, we were actually opening for the Nude Girls. They were doing, I think, their 10th breakup show. That's fine. I'll mock them about that as well. So. And it was them, Prime Circle, and us, and we played at Shepherd's Bush. And yeah, I mean, it was awesome because it was a packed house. So obviously, it was a Nude Girls breakup show. And yeah, I think that kind of gave us a little bit of the courage to kind of venture abroad. In fact, that and we also got a sync deal. We got an advert placed in a camera ad, Fujifilm, a song called Beautiful. And that kind of gave us the confidence to perhaps explore, you know, foreign markets. Because it is quite a daunting thing, you know. the world's a big place, and everyone has the same idea. You know, everyone wants to go and chase that American ideal or the European ideal. So, you know, it is quite a scary concept, and we're doing it with the rand.
What's the first show you did on your own? So obviously you supported the New Girls, but what's the first show you did on your own?
Well, then we went back to England. We had a whole tour. I think we had more shows than there were days in the month, because sometimes we played two shows. And that was very disappointing, because we realized actually no one in the audience was there for us. They were obviously only there for the Nude Girls. And yeah, I mean, we, you know, went back. We had great success here, and we went back to playing to 10 people, 20 people, sometimes people. And that did happen. And that one person was South African, so it was like, oh, well, we're going overseas and we're playing to South African. We could have gone to Bloem. So, and we were sleeping in the van in like the middle of winter. It was a difficult...
Ooh, that's tough in the UK, eh?
Yeah, that's very tough.
Respect.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of, if anything, it grounded us. It's, you know, you can buy into your own hype for only so long and then realize that, you know, in the big scheme of things, you're still insignificant. But you can do one of two things. You can either give up on it and just say that it's too daunting, or it can inspire you to just push a little harder. And now we do very well there, you know. We're not superstars, but we have a fan base. And
it's a British fan base, or a European fan base, yeah?
Yeah, so what we did subsequent, or after that, is we toured with two British bands, Star Sailor and Ash, on two of their national tours. And that obviously won us a fan base. Yes, and so some of the audience will be South African, expats, and some of it will be British. An idea, and we've played festivals, we played V-Fest and Tea in the Park. So you got to keep going back there and reminding people that you're still around and you're still writing music. You know, I wish I could tell you what the secret is, because then I would follow it.
But that's why they're all here.
Yeah. There is no secret. I think you said it in the beginning. It's perseverance. The ones that persevere, I guess, eventually reach success. The anomaly is you know, I almost compare it to like when I first started playing soccer, and when I started coaching soccer. When you're under 8 or under 9, everyone just runs after the same ball. You know, there's no like strategy until you get older and you realize how the game works. It's almost like that in the music industry at the moment. It's like we don't really know what's happening. It's MySpace. God, there was a superstar on MySpace. All you do, and then that starts to fly under Facebook, and physical's not working, and you know, that's kind of what's happening at the moment. We're all just chasing the same soccer ball because it works for the anomaly. Yes, there was the MySpace phenomenon and the Facebook phenomenon and the free download phenomenon or whatever it is, but that's not the prevailing solution. I don't know what the solution is. You almost just got to do it all.
You know, I love the analogy of the football. I can just think of some of the artists in this country just like running around after football. It's quite funny. Tell us about the first time you went overseas and how that experience was.
First time I went overseas was via government stuff. Thank you, our government, for helping me go overseas. So I went over there, but it was mostly like one of those where they were like celebrating like big world music bands from South Africa. Johnny Clegg was there. Who else was there? I think it was definitely not PJ Powers, man. Like it was Johnny Clegg. It was Freshly Ground. It was I don't know which other band it was, but then they were like had opening acts kind of vibe, you know. And I thought of myself as like, you know, that opening vibe. People not really sure what's up with me. Like I'm supposed to be a hip hop guy, but I look like a jazz artist, you know, like, and I've got a band, you know, like they don't understand what's going on really, you know. And there was also like this traditional group from Mafike also that was there, you know. So we went there, and everyone is looking forward to seeing Johnny Clegg and Freshly Ground, you know. And I'm like, you know, we're performing predominantly for German people, you know. I'm thinking to myself, man, how will I stand out here? Because at the end of the day, I'm just going to be like a fat guy jumping up and down on stage, and that's it, you know. How will I make my impact? How will they remember me, you know? And I remember before the show, I went to this one kid who was selling cool drinks, and I said to him, how do you say hello in German? And he's like, hello. I'm like, oh, okay. How do you say my name is whatever? Like just asking him basic questions, and he gave me whatever I needed. I was like, you know what, when I walk on stage, I'm just gonna say this stuff, and maybe they'll remember me at least for that, you know. And I was thinking, just before I got on stage, I was thinking to myself, this kid could have just told me I'm an idiot. I'm thinking, how do I even trust this, you know? So I got on stage just before Harambe played. I'm like, hello, Cologne, and they were like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm like, mein Name ist HP. They're like, I'm like, und das ist meine Band. Like, yeah, ich komme aus Südafrika. Next thing I'm like going in, like, you know. And ever since then, like, then I got another gig at Stroud's Garden, you know, where they asked me to come perform there with another Skatamea band that I didn't know much about. I only just met them there, and then we killed the crowd there. Then we did another show as well in Berlin. And, you know, we're just really killing it everywhere, you know, and I thought, yeah, I mean, this is the beginning, you know, we're now starting to be recognized. We might just, you know, eventually get that spot on the world's music stage, you know. And years after that, I was approached by another guy to come and do, what's this? The United States of America. Like, this gentleman, I don't know, he heard about me. I don't know how he heard about me, but he came to Africa to look for me, and he says he started in Lesotho first because he didn't really know where to go, you know. And then he went to some guy in Lesotho, and he was like, do you know where I could find hip-hop and Zola? And this lady looked at him like, that's like saying you're looking for Michael Jackson, you know. And he's like, that lady led him to another guy, who led him to another guy in Bloemfontein, who led him to someone in Pretoria, who led him to someone wherever, until eventually this guy found me, you know. We're sitting together now at Cat's Pajamas, and he's like, yo, man, I've been everywhere looking for you. You're like a prophet or something, you know. Anyway, like, you know, we're doing this thing. It's an art exchange program called the Bloom Bars back in Washington, D.C. They have this little room which is about, you know, people coming in to express themselves, poetry, art, rap, all that stuff. It's like a community-based thing, you know. They're just really like creating an outlet for people in the community to kind of express themselves and all that stuff. And we're interested in you coming down there and sharing some of your experiences or whatnot. I wasn't really sure what he was going on about, but he told me he's got resident DJ, resident artists over there who I could collaborate with when I get over there as well, you know, stuff that I could work out or whatever. And I got a hold of a friend of mine, Suede, who was staying in South Africa, who from the US. You know, I told him like I was supposed to go to the US. Please come through with us and go check it out. But the only thing is, I'm starting to really like enjoy playing with a live band. They were saying they can't afford to get my whole live band over there. Maybe if I can't just come with a DJ or whatever. I was like, that's one thing I do not want to do. When I go and present my music overseas, I cannot do it with a DJ. You know, it has to be live because you have ways of manipulating the set just before you get on. You can kind of sense what kind of crowd this is and like, okay, you know what, maybe let me do more of this, you know, and like you can go off on that tangent. So I took my bass player, Tebogo, and I took my keyboardist, Boo. So we went over to the States and we got there and I remember my first thing, like I wasn't now performing for South Africans in America, I'm performing for Americans, you know, and I'm not on a massive stage on some like Talib Kweli is about to perform or Jay-Z. It's just like a small community. These are people who just came back from work. You know, they don't really need to be there, but they're just there anyway. You know, there's an African guy who came over. And I remember like not knowing how to start, you know, like, wow, all these years I've been striving to come to America. My rapping skills are on point now. I think I've emulated the culture to a point where I'll probably blend in. But I still don't blend in. I'm an African, you know, like, so what's going to be different with me, you know? And I remember just going off on some, just went all deep African on them, you know? They were like, wow, like, yeah. By the end of that performance, they were calling me Brother Jabba. So, Brother Jabba, I was wondering if you don't mind if you could, like, share with us a little on your opinion on the You know, like I was just like really bringing out that Africanness in me, like explaining to them what Harambe means. And then they sharing with me like, yo, they have Kwanzaa, and Kwanzaa also, Harambe is one of the things that they relate to, whatnot. So I kind of started off there. It was very slow until I did this one show in New York, right? Mind you, I have to now get this band in the US to play my music, you know, and they're all like, they don't really know who I am. I'm not really strong on social media at the time. The internet is everything over there, and all they see is my Facebook, a couple of stuff here and there, Twitter, you know, it's not really as big as they thought. So they don't really know what I'm all about. So they're playing my music, like, I could just see them rolling their eyes. Before I knew who they were, Omar and them, you know, and only got to realize later that these were guys that were playing for prominent bands like Foreign Exchange. Omar was a bass player for Foreign Exchange. Biscuit was playing drums for them, and I didn't even know who Foreign Exchange was. You know, my first gig that I played there, Raheem Devon came to see me, and afterwards he was like, "Yo, man, I'm interested to work with you." I didn't know who Raheem Devon was. I only realized when I came back to SA, like, wow, these guys are pretty big, you know, back there. But we were playing this one gig in New York, Southpaw. You know, Southpaw is a very big hip hop club over there. The likes of Nas have played it. KRS-One, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, all the hip-hop legends have played this club, you know, so I'm about to go play it. We're playing just after Umi of Dead Prez, you know, and apparently there's another big band that's coming to perform after us, and I'm super nervous, you know, I don't know what to do, and then Omar, my guitarist at the time, says to me, like, you know, hey, I haven't really spoken to you much since you've been in the US, you know, I just want to say, I like what you do, you know, like, hey, thanks, my brother, whatever, you know. He's like, but when they told me an African artist is coming to the US, I was hoping to hear something that said, this guy's from Africa, you know, like, whether it's musically or aesthetically or whatever, you know, we wanted to kind of...
You didn't wear your grass skirt?
You know, I went there with like, Boma, I might keep stuff, you know, like trying to almost be urban African, you know, and at the same time, I didn't want to go there all up, loinclothed out, you know, just to represent whatever. I need to kind of show them this is what's going on back home, kind of vibe.
I think it's an important point because for many years, we always used to refer to like the world music mafia. So there was a big international part of the industry that sort of dictated to us what African music should be, and we've had to break through that over the many years. But I think it's interesting, just to sum up in terms of you guys touring. So your entry point was to the South African diaspora living overseas. Your entry point was more on a cultural exchange gig funded by the government. And I think those are definitely two ways of getting out of the country. I want to bring things back into South Africa. Our diversity is our strength. We don't have one South African identity. We have many. But I still go to events where I'll be the only whitey, you know, or I'll go to events where my partner Tava will be the only darkie. How do we diversify? How do we diversify the audiences? Do you guys play to mixed audiences at all? Do you think there's a change? And how can we get better at doing that?
I don't know. I've played for mixed audiences before locally, and it's really been a surprise. I mean, the first time I played like a Joburg Day, for instance, you know, you think it's a Joburg Day thing, but you're like, okay, this is another demographic of Joburg, you know, altogether. But, you know, you still see like those token black faces in the crowd. You're like, yeah, this is what's up, where my family is at. But you end up appealing to the crowd that's there, you know, and I've played like K-Day, you know, Rocking the Daisies, Opie obviously being the most diverse crowd that I've played for. I think, you know, it's not really, you have the perception that Opie's a white market, you know, but it's changing by the year, you know. But I honestly think that one of the major things that's going to help with getting mixed audiences into events is the increasing of the quota of our music that plays here, you know, like, we are, like South African music at this point is all fighting for that small little pie, you know, however much they're giving us, 30% South African music that's playing on radio or whatever else, you know, and everything else internationally. Now we're all chasing the same thing. There's only limited spaces, you know, and everyone is easy to kind of like, you know, create your own group or create your own whatever going on over there. I think had we opened up the gates to allow more music to play over here, you know, you start having people loving more diverse sounds that are around. Like, for instance, when we're in Nigeria, you know, the love that the people were showing for polytones and Zebra and Giraffe at the time, you know, and I knew of the bands, but I didn't know their music. But here's people who celebrate and know their music, you know, to some degree. It's also because they play so much of their own music, they enjoy their own content, that when they explore, it's not so much about being fed international stuff. They themselves go out and check out what's going on within the continent, you know. So they've picked up, if you want to do rock, you know, instead of going to Europe for rock or wherever else, hey, there's some nice rock bands in South Africa, you know. If you want to do dancehall, there's not many dancehall artists over here, but maybe check out Zimbabwe or check out Malawi, you know, or maybe if this is not happening or whatever else, you know. So I think the more we start introducing different genres within our space, you know, we'll start seeing a change in the audiences that attend these gigs. That's
Cool.
my opinion. You know?
I think you made an important point there, and it was just something we discussed was discussed quite extensively at Moshito, which is another conference that we're very involved with a month ago. That every time an international artist track gets played or a video gets played on television, the money leaves the country. So there is a big movement within the industry to try and push for more local content. Con, what has your experience been like in terms of diversity in audiences?
Well, I think it's primarily social conditioning. I mean, you know, when you're born into the world, do your parents feed you guitar music? Do they feed you reggae? Do they feed you hip-hop? And so your social conditioning begins. And then you go to school and you become influenced by your friends. What do they play? What do they share with you? And eventually you formulate an opinion or a taste in music, which is quite hard to undo. You know, you're not just going to suddenly say, well, after 20 years or 25 years of conditioning, have you given this a try? So I do think we can create more diverse audiences by actually just exposing people from a young age to all sorts of music. But, I mean, where does that begin? Does it begin with parenting? Does it begin with, you know, at school? You are ultimately a product of your initial surroundings and the way you grow up. And it also shouldn't be contrived or forced upon people, because all you're going to do is just get the various demographics shuffling around at the concerts. Well, they're my favorite artists up now, I'm going to go watch them, and then when they're done, I'm going to go hang out at the bar.
The toilet.
So, you know, that doesn't work either. Probably the quota is the system. You know, I know in France, or in other parts of the world, it favors the local artists. 80% is for the local artists and 20% for foreigners. Here it's the other way around. How are we ever going to grow our industry if we're sending all the money abroad and we're giving all the love and the support abroad and saying, we're diverse, we're so diverse, but hey, you guys have got to fit your diversity into 20% or whatever the quota is. So how are we going to change that social conditioning? What are we going to give, like 1% to rock, 1% to this? And
can we lead it as artists? Are collaborations important? If you collaborate with artists from different genres, does that open you up?
They're important if they're authentic, but if they sound contrived and like a cut and paste job, then it's going to have the opposite effect. People are just going to flick the station, or you know, it needs to happen organically.
Very true.
And it can happen organically, but often, and I've seen it at award ceremonies, obviously the intentions are good, and some of them work brilliantly. But sometimes I sit there and I can see it's a cut and paste job. Okay, you sing your verse and they sing their chorus, and cool. And it's harmony. But it's not really. It's that, you know, it didn't happen organically, and its outcome isn't really achieved like that. So I don't know. I wish I knew what the solution is. And ultimately, good songwriting will always shine through. You know, the John Legend song at the moment, it shouldn't be on radio for all the right reasons. You know, it's not up-tempo, there's no drum beats. It's one voice and a piano. Now, any record label will go, it's not going to work. It's not going to work on radio. There's no beat. It's a bit long, slow. But it's a smash hit, and probably across all demographics, because it's a good song. And I think if you introduce people to a good song, you can bring them into your realm of music naturally, not by forcing forcing a situation.
Yeah, well said. Guys, I'm really sorry, we're running out of time. I would like to just do this the whole day. But just give us a bit of insight into what... we have a culture of one-hit wonders. Yeah, a lot of people put out a track, it spikes, and we never hear from them again. How do we, as an industry, foster career artists?
I think collaborations are very important, my brother. In the era that we live in, it's very important, as cliche as it may sound, to share ideas and to really start working together as one, and also expanding our art over beyond our borders. You know, my personal thing that I'm really like, you know, advocating for is creating an African music industry. You know, traveling different parts of Africa, you start realizing people love our music, they love our history, our culture, our history and heritage and all that stuff. But we don't know any of them, you know, it's not reciprocated, you know. I was in Zimbabwe just last week, Friday, you know, and they were just giving me all this info about South African music. I even found out that this new age hip hop is called Skanda rap from Zimbabwe, you know. But I can't even name you 3 artists I know from Zimbabwe. Okay, yeah, I can. Andy Brown, Oliver Mtukudzi, Zubs. But honestly, in general, people don't really know, you know, artists from over there. So collaborating is an important thing. Going back to the whole quota thing as well, you know, I think it's important that we start selling our culture overseas, you know, and to do it is to work with other artists, prominent or not, who are overseas. Now, the difference is with South Africa, you know, somebody can go to Nigeria, for instance, Jay-Z, you know, he's got a concert over there. If he gets into his limo, from his limo to the hotel, wherever he's staying, chances are he'll be listening to Nigerian music the whole time in the car. And he'll be asking himself, so are you guys sure you guys listen to Jay-Z out here? Like, yeah, we love you. You're the biggest guy. You are the boss. But I'm not even hearing myself over here, you know. Like, no, trust me, people listen to your stuff, you know. In his mind, in the back of his mind, even though he won't show it, he's probably thinking, man, so for me to hear myself from the airport, because you get stuck on the traffic from the airport to your hotel in Nigeria, for him to hear himself, he needs to collaborate with a local artist. That's already in his mind. If somebody now, a big artist from Nigeria comes through and says, you know, I'm doing like, you know, this song, whatever, I'm big or whatever, I need to collaborate with you. He won't think twice, you know. Yes, it's a money thing for him, it's an exchange, but he'll probably be more open to doing it. Other than when he comes to South Africa, for instance, from OR Tambo to his hotel, if he goes to 5FM, he listens to Jay-Z. Metro FM, Jay-Z. Even down to Mhlobo Wenene, Ukhozi FM, like stations that shouldn't be playing rap, but he'll hear himself over there. Now people are going to be like, so Jay-Z, are you going to be working with any local artists while you're out here? And he's like, well, I don't know why I should be working with local artists because I just hear myself when I'm over here, you know? So it's that whole thing of like, I think once everything happens with this quota situation, there'll be like a ripple effect. You know, we'll start seeing, you know, less one-hit wonders. We'll start seeing more people, you know, being open to hearing different other genres. You know, we'll be open to seeing more international collaborations, more musicians within the continent also working together. You know, it'll all just kind of work together. This whole quota thing is not it'll favor this person or it won't favor this person. There's just so much great talent in this country right now that so much of it is falling outside, you know. I mean, from my own experience, and I don't know if I'm going to be getting people into trouble for this, you know, but from my own experience, I've realized that sometimes you could be such a successful local artist and record labels could use you as a bargaining chip to sell international stuff. You know, like let's say they're trying out an international act, for instance, Miley Cyrus, for example. I'm not saying this is the case, you know, but they're trying out a Miley Cyrus in this market, you know, and they're not really sure if people will buy into it, whatever. If WHP is doing well, then there'll be times where like you'd find that WHP is being offered for free to the retailers or to the people that are buying music, and in exchange that they buy like maybe however many of like, you know, the international stuff, you know. So they're just always pushing for international product and all that stuff. And I think with social media and internet and where we're going, you know, we are tired of that. You know, it's about time that we really start concentrating on pushing our own product and content. I heard you performing for the first time at the Wawelas, you know, and I'd never heard of your band. I'd never seen you before, but I loved it. And I was chilling with Kanyo and PJ Powers at the time, and they're jamming to it. And I'm like, who are these guys? Why don't we know about them? Why aren't they playing on our radios? You know, not to say I'm trying to put you on, player, you know, but I'm just saying, like, you are good as well. You know, there's so many artists out there equally good that we don't know much about. And had we opened up doors for them, you know, it'd probably be a different story right now.
Yeah, thank you. Such amazing words, and thank you for your compliments. I think just to end off, one of the important things at the moment is, as Africans, we have been culturally colonized for many, many years, and we're still trying to find ourselves, but we have some of the coolest shit in this country, on this planet, and people really are interested in what we're doing, and we just need to be ourselves and push our own agenda and be who we are, because ultimately, eventually, we are going to break through in a massive way internationally. I believe in the next 10, 15, 20 years that South Africa will be at the forefront of culture in terms of music and video and film. So I really want to thank you guys so much for coming out and sharing some of your experience and wisdom with us. Amazing to have you both on the couch, and hopefully maybe you guys will do a track or something. And
believe it, believe it,
cool.
believe
Let's
it.
give a big round of applause.
Yeah,
thank you.
it'll be organic.
Thank you so much.